Ron DeSantis this week, outdoing himself, signing a bunch of bills, tightening his grasp on the education system in that state. He signed a couple bills barring colleges and universities from any public funding of DEI programs or diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. So any money that colleges and universities get, they can't direct to those programs. And then another bill that restricts topics from being taught in general education. So like, I guess, intro courses, topics like structural racism, sexism, oppression of any kind. I don't know, anything that would hurt white straight men, fifis, you know? So in light of all that, he's saying this. Let's just hang on. He's saying this about what he wants out of Florida's education system. Take a listen.
If you want to do things like gender ideology, go to Berkeley, go to some of these other places. That's fine. It's fine. And there's nothing, if that's what you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that per se. But for us, with our tax dollars, we want to focus on the classical mission of what a university is supposed to be. We don't want to be diverted into a lot of these niche subjects that are heavily politicized. We want to focus on the basics.
So he says we want to focus on the basics, which I wanted to drill down on. God, there's so much to say. By the way, it's not federal funding, it's public funding. So whatever, any state funds. I love also like gender ideology, River, from what we were talking about earlier. That's like such a catchphrase, as if gender isn't imposed like tacitly, overtly in a million different ways every single waking moment of our lives. Like, what? Talk about that ideology. It's like, I don't know. It's like calling something a socialist ideology, as if capitalism isn't the system we currently live under, right? Anywho, but I want to know, since Ron wants to focus only on the basics, what are the basic courses he would be okay with it? This is Ron 101. I don't know how much time you had to think about this, but I had a few. I'm just going to go Ron 101. Ron's very cool in Florida with shop. Straight shop, dude. Shop. Yep. As long as you're building manly things. As long as you're building other benches with which to build other benches with which to build other benches. That's the only thing you can build in shop.
That's right.
I mean, that's bird feeder bullshit.
I do think we should have more shop classes, just to say. Actually,
this should be a good credit, right?
Dismantling of shop classes by the rich elites was actually pretty detrmental to
I never got into shop.
The country. I know it was gone by the time I was in high school.
Oh, it was not an elective. I got stuck with the shit electives. Anyway.
I was going to say, I just immediately, kind of along the lines of what you were saying, do you remember those old commercials in the 80s where they would be like, get your BA in like 2 weeks or whatever? Uh-huh. So I think Ron DeSantis classes are TV VCR repair and guns. Yeah. Those were the two that I remember from that. You can do that.
You could get a diploma in guns?
Yeah, you can get a Bachelor of Fine Arts in guns.
Bachelor of Fine Guns.
A Bachelor of Fine Arms, you know?
Yeah. Bachelor of Arms and
a Bachelor of Firearms. How did it take me that long to get to it?
Bachelor of Firearms. There you go.
That's it, you know?
Bachelor of Firearms is great. I'm going to say Intro to the Confederacy. Just a brief little intro. The Myth of the Female Orgasm. Thomas Jefferson, Original Alpha Male. And How the West Was Won, and other things to talk about when you're a teacher at a high school kegger. Those are the basics. That's all you need to know. You need to know enough to impress a 17-year-old to get laid.
That's right.
Or 18, I guess she was.
Right, yeah. She said she was 18.
She said she was, exactly. Oh, so, you know what's funny about this, though? Like intro to classes, like a Marxist taught one of my classes in freshman year and completely radicalized me. That's what's dope about college is you're like, oh, hell yeah. Now we don't have to do like some fucking lame workbook shit out of my lame high school textbook. Now we get like the real stuff, the heady stuff, the fun stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's just me who like likes democracy and like information and stuff. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean the fight against higher education has been a long one by the Republicans, the conservatives, for quite some time. I actually listened to a really great "You're Wrong" about that, where they talked a lot about it, about political correctness, and it's interesting to me that Ron DeSantis is picking this back up again, because it kind of quieted down for a little while. But like, colleges are where people become anti-war and
Yes.
former Republicans go, wait a minute, like it is a place where people begin to think for themselves, because they're given a space to do that.
Yep.
I mean, I took classes from people who said things that I really fully disagreed with, and then I took classes from people that I was like, I never thought about it that way. But I needed the classes where people said things where, like, I literally had a Western civilizations professor who, at the time, we had a movement on campus, and this was 2001. So, like, imagine, if you can, what it was like to be queer on a campus in the middle of Ohio. Professors were putting a little pink triangle in their office windows and saying, hey, this is a safe space. You can talk to me. Like, you don't have to be afraid. Like, that's what it was like. It's what it's like now also, again. So I'm not saying it, but it did change in that time because of people doing things like that. And this guy, after taking us through the civil rights movement, was like, this is special rights. I'll never put one of those in my windows. And I'm like, interesting. And I still think about that. Like,
this is one of your professors?
This is one of my professors, yes. And I still think about that and consider it. At the time, I was just like, I eventually dismissed it out of hand, but I still consider it because, like, that, he wasn't the only person I witnessed on that campus. And so what I'm, ruining the game by talking again, but like, DeSantis
no, it's fine.
Doesn't want differing opinions. DeSantis wants only someone saying white history is the only history and white economics is the only economics, and male bodies are the only valid bodies, and those male bodies will decide which female bodies are the only valid female bodies.
Sure. And well, that's another class that he'd be down with, is like, what is a woman? And it'd be like, duh, I don't know. Like, they'd spend an entire semester on like actually discovering
with a sign outside that says no girls allowed.
Yeah, exactly. No, and no, I think that you're right. And I think the it's also assuming that that everyone's going to emerge like a radical or a leftist, and that's totally not true. Oh my God, I debated with tons of dudes who, like, we're in a colonialism class and they're like, but actually all this was good. And I'm like, bitch, are you not listening to what we're studying? And it's like, no, they're not, because that some people just are conservative, and that's okay. Some people will take a class on colonialism and say that was a good thing. So just so funny.
Also interesting that you brought up colonialism. Of course, because one other thing I just want to point out about what he was saying is interesting, that he was like, if you want to do this, go somewhere else. And is that not an essential thread of the far right, of the middle right, of the conservative movement? Like, yeah, no, I'm okay with it. Just go somewhere else. Like, and that is a very thin veil over what Bill was talking about, which is, it's actually about extermination. When you when you move someone off and you move them off and you move them off, eventually there's nowhere else for them to go. And that's extermination. Like, eventually you're placing them in a place where it's only them and they're isolated and they cannot go anywhere else. And so, it seems like silly and like, go to Berkeley, ha 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 ha. But I know what that means.
Yep.
You're not welcome here. You're not wanted here. We're getting rid of you.
Yep. And the amount, and the whole Stop Woke Act, when we know woke is a euphemism basically for Black people and queer people. And you're like, yeah, those folks still live in the state. You didn't, by saying that, make them disappear, but you sure made them want to disappear.
And ultimately, too, just to point out, like, yes, it's a euphemism for people, but to use the word in its original essence, which was a consciousness raising, specifically of Black Americans in this country, like, stay aware, raise your consciousness, be awake to what is going on around you. And then to have someone say an anti-woke bill, that's
Stay
saying
asleep.
get away, like kill the consciousness. Kill
Yes.
this consciousness.
No, that's exactly what they want to do. They're like, no. College should just be, learning about your guns and then watching Schoolhouse Rocks on repeat. It was good for kids in the 80s. It's good for us now. It's good for college students now.
It should just punch a ticket to the elites. Just punch a ticket to a certain bracket and vote Republican. That's what they want.
Absolutely. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.